Hi Bookfighters, it is Sunday, and this month has been crazy for me. I assume that it has been for everyone else as well, because there have not been hardly any videos on the channel this month, and that's okay. I'm as much a culprit as anyone else, though it has been sort of disappointing for me because I was one that chose Fight Club as our book of the month, and I really wanted to talk about it. I really enjoyed the book, and I have a lot to say about it, and I've just been so disappointed that I haven't been able to make a video. So I tried my hardest. This is the first time I've been able to escape from my family for the last couple weeks to actually make a video. So here we are. Anyway, Fight Club. I don't really want to talk a whole lot about the discussion that has been going on about whether or not the twist was predictable, because I just don't think that that's a very interesting conversation. You're free to have it if that's interesting for you, but it's not interesting for me, so I'm not going to talk about that. I am going to talk about the twist, however, and I do feel that spoiler alert, obviously, for Fight Club, both the movie and the book, so if you haven't seen it or read it, probably don't watch this video. Anyway, I want to talk about the twist, because I think that people's perception of the movie is affecting the perception of the book. For one thing, the twist, when you find out that Tyler Durden and the narrator are the same person, is the ending of the movie, or the beginning of the climax for the movie. But in the novel, it is only just over halfway through the book, so it's not the ending, and people have been talking about it so far as if it is the ending, which makes sense if you're coming at it from the movie perspective, but not if you're just looking at the novel. As much as I'm only going to talk about the movie this week. My next video is not going to say anything about the movie at all, so I'm getting it all out in this one. I feel like as much as the actual plot itself is similar between the book and the movie, I feel like the two have very different aims. So if you love the movie, you're not probably gonna enjoy the book quite as much, because they have very different goals. And so if you're expecting a book to be just like the movie, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because there's some very different ideas that are being communicated between the two different stories. For one thing, the actual ending of the movie and the book are very different. At the end of the movie, the narrator accepts that he is Tyler Durden and becomes Tyler Durden, and sort of decides to embody all of these ideals and to be Tyler Durden. Whereas in the novel, the last half of the novel is the narrator trying to undo everything that Tyler Durden has done and trying to kill Tyler Durden as much as he can. And it ends with him, I think that it ends with him in a mental institution. That's the vibe that I got off of it, which is not anything at all like how the movie ends. He just accepts that he is this. Whereas in the novel, the narrator rejects Tyler Durden and decides to become something else, and realizes that both who he was before and Tyler Durden are both wrong. Both of them are equally wrong, but in different ways, and Tyler Durden was a reaction to his current life that he didn't enjoy or want, but that Tyler Durden's life is just as flawed and wrong. I don't know if it was the last line, I don't have it in front of me right now, but right near the end he says, "We're not special or unique snowflakes, but we're not the all-singing, all-dancing crap of the earth either. We just are." And that, to me, was much more interesting. For me, the movie didn't ever really strike me as super awesome. Like, I loved the movie all the way through until the very end, and he just accepts anarchy. Just accepts that, yes, anarchy is the way to go, and reject your current life, become anarchist or whatever. And in the novel, he rejects Tyler Durden's life and his old life. And I think that that's a much more interesting perspective. I don't know if that's the right word, but we're going to go with it. I think that's a much more interesting and much more satisfying ending for me than to just be like, oh, well, I am Tyler Durden, and yay, anarchy, let's continue to blow things up. And he also realizes that he can't escape himself, either version of himself, that despite him rejecting Tyler Durden, he wasn't able to undo Fight Club, he wasn't able to undo Project Mayhem. And even as he's in the mental institution, everyone there says, "We miss you, Tyler. We can't wait for you to come back, Tyler." And so he realizes that as much as either of those are flawed, he can't escape himself. We just are. And I think that's a much more satisfying and much more interesting ending than it is in the movie, where he just accepts Tyler Durden. But yeah, I mean, the twist itself, let's talk about the twist for a minute, because that's what everyone wants to focus on. The twist in the movie is the point. And I think the movie is brilliant. I think it's one of the best adaptations of books that I've ever read. It's very different from the book, not plot-wise. Plot-wise, it's very similar, but the ideas communicated are very different. But I think it's the best movie that could have been made from the book Fight Club. It was a brilliant piece of film, and you should absolutely love it because it's a great movie. But it is very different from the book. And the biggest difference, I think, not just the ending, but the twist. Because the twist is the point of the movie, but it's not the point of the book. So, like in The Sixth Sense, when you find out that, spoiler alert, when you find out that that the main character has been dead the whole time, that's a big twist, and it changes your entire view of the movie. Or like in The Wizard of Oz, you find out that the wizard is just a man behind a curtain, and that changes everything, and you never saw it coming. But there are rationalizations for it throughout, so if you go back, you can see that it was all leading up to this point. And that's the way that the movie is done, and I think that's great. I'm not criticizing that at all, but I don't think that's the way that the book was done, because they tell you over and over again that Tyler and the narrator are the same person. They don't do it explicitly. The author doesn't do it explicitly until he actually says to Marla, "We're the same person. I have multiple personalities." But you're told over and over again, like Tyler had been around for a long time, or I know this because Tyler knows this, and all these various ways. They tell you that they're the same person. It's not, I don't think that it's meant to be a huge shocker just in the way that it's written. It's sort of written as if it assumes that you already know that they are the same person. Like when you're hanging out with friends and they start talking about someone that they both know, but you don't know this other person they're talking about, but you all know each other, so they're talking about it as if you do know what's going on, but you don't. And it's not because they're keeping anything from you, it's just that you don't have that one important bit of information. And you might be able to figure it out as time goes on, but you don't know it at the time. That's sort of how the book is written, as if you already know that Tyler Durden and the narrator are the same person, so it doesn't need to be said. It's as if he's telling you how he found out that they were the same person, but you knew this information already. That's how I felt that it read, because it said many times that they were the same person. So the movie was structured in such a way that it was supposed to be a huge reveal, but the novel was not written that way at all, I don't think. And I don't think it's really comparable to The Fault in Our Stars either, because John Green novels, the plot is incidental. It's all about the big ideas. The plot is just the vehicle with which they communicate the ideas. So whether Gus dying was a surprise to you or not doesn't really matter, because that's not the point. The fact that Gus dying, it's just a vehicle for which he can make this other point or communicate this other big idea. So I don't feel like it was meant to be a surprise, but in a different way than I feel that Fight Club was not meant to be a surprise. And which is not to say that if it was a surprise that you were reading it wrong. I think that that's a perfectly acceptable read of the novel as well. But I don't feel like it was really the point. But I don't think they're comparable either. I wish I could edit this because I could communicate this much better. Right now I'm just rambling, so I'm hoping you're getting what I'm trying to say here. But I've been recording for 9 minutes, so I'm going to go. But I will be posting a video on Thursday and talking about this some more. I'm hoping there are some videos between then and now, but I understand everyone's life is a little bit insane at the moment. So hopefully, Dan, I will see you tomorrow.